Junkies. Look what I've got opposite me. Yay!
This is our first popcorn Junkies.
Of the year.
I'm going to be doing a lot more popcorn.
Okay, so we're doing The Lost Daughter, which is directed by one of your favourite actresses, Maggie Gyllenhaal.
I know.
Starring some of our favourite actresses, Olivia Colman, who we all know and love, Dakota Johnson from 50 Shades of Grey.
What if anyone doesn't know and love Olivia Colman?
I think some people find her a bit mannered. Jessie Buckley, who I've been following her career for the last 2 or 3 years, and she is becoming quite a something actress, believe me.
Wow.
Yeah, she really is.
Rocket fuel actress.
And came from that bizarre show hosted by Graham Norton, and she was a runner-up in some musical competition show. It's bizarre. And obviously in there, in a very small part, is Paul Mescal from Normal People. Could have done with a bit more of him, to be honest. So yeah, this is based on the book, and you're reading the book, aren't you? The Lost Daughter by Elena Ferrante, is it?
Well, I had it. We've just been away for a few days, and I had it as my next book to read. And then we discovered that this was available,
Absolutely.
so we watched it. And I thought, oh God, well that's the only book I've got to read. So I started it the next morning, and I found it almost impossible. I was so in the film anyway. I thought this is ridiculous because it's taking me away from all the thoughts that I was having around the film.
It's the story of Leda Caruso, or Leda Caruso, played by Olivia Colman, but she's also played, a younger version of her is played by Jessie Buckley. But it's essentially set, isn't it, on a beach or in a resort or in a location, an island, a Greek island, where she's gone on essentially a working holiday. She keeps sort of calling it that, doesn't she? She's a professor. You know, her idyll, if you like, her place of peace and contemplation is disrupted in so many subtle and not so subtle ways. I thought the most unsubtle way being the arrival of a bunch of Americans from Queens who are clearly represented as kind of a bit cultureless, uncultured bunch who just kind of...
Bit cream.
Yeah, rabble-rousing, bit criminal, yeah, bit kind
of... You know that
gangster.
nightmare on your beach and you found your perfect spot.
Exactly.
And then a huge family arrive and that's...
Her face portrayed that beautifully.
Well, you see, this is interesting. Your mum kept saying through the film, she's got such an expressive face. And I think that's where people get what an actor does so wrong.
Yeah.
In that it's not about having an expressive face. It's not about lying. It's about actually being. And why Olivia Colman is such a brilliant actress is she's not acting.
No, you're right.
She's absolutely inhabiting that character. She could not move a muscle on her face, but you would know what she's thinking because she's feeling it, 100%. So yeah, and I love the way that it was shot in this very close up a lot of the time. So you felt this sort of, for me, it was all about the suffocation that you can feel as a mother, and sometimes it's very difficult to watch because I think every mother has had that in whatever grade and has felt guilt around it.
Yeah, and I mean, just to explain, I mean, she's a mum. This family, this Queens, New Yorker sort of American family that arrives, for a moment lose their daughter, but more significantly, their daughter loses, or we believe loses, her doll. And so this sort of really quite ugly, horrendous doll that's important to this daughter of this Queens group. This takes on kind of an enormous sort of significance. But one of the things I really liked about this film was how poetic it was in all the non-dramatic ways. So whilst you got that sense of obviously the arrival of these people, there are all these little bits and bobs which I really liked. Like you have the sort of the foghorn and the lighthouse that you thought, first thing I thought when she walked in was, fucking hell, that'll keep me awake all night.
It was so atmospheric.
So atmospheric. The rotting fruit. The rotting fruit.
It was just so exquisitely directed, and you knew that in the first few minutes. And I said to you afterwards, "No, God, thank God, Maggie Gyllenhaal didn't put herself in it, because this is what happens.
Absolutely.
Actors will, that have huge potential as a director can't resist that thing of putting themselves in it as well.
Exactly.
And the lightness of touch. And I thought it was really. I mean, I don't know a lot about directing, but I thought it was really bravely directed because it was very. It was. I don't really know how it was shot. I don't know what happened.
I tried to explain whilst we were watching it. Yeah.
It's very dreamlike
and yet at the same time, it was quite sort of simple and documentary. I mean, to be honest with you, virtually nothing happens in this film, other than this building sense of tension. What has happened to this doll? And there's a huge building sense of drama around. Shall we say what happens to the doll? There's a spoiler review.
Yeah.
I think we kind of have to. So essentially, Olivia Colman's character has snaffled this doll away, which is significant on so many levels, isn't it? On a spiritual, on a maternal, on all these levels. Because what you're realising in retrospect from the Jessie Buckley part, the younger story of this woman,
of Olivia
Colman's character, is that she struggles with parenthood. She struggles massively
She's
with being a mother.
juggling an academic career, and she's very, very ambitious and very, very smart and very turned on by her work and by that world, the world of her work.
Yeah.
And she's obviously had these 2 children at a young age with a bit of a hapless husband. And oh my God, I mean,
The energy
all
of her
of those
performance.
scenes with Jessie Buckley, I mean,
Astonishing.
award-winning in every sense. The direction, the acting, the children in it.
Oh my God.
I haven't seen child actors like that in a
Not
very,
British
very
child
long time.
actors,
And
no.
I've never seen a British actor
No.
of that age that good. I mean, really quite astonishing. I had quite a few tears actually through that because you could see the horror. And I mean, a lot of people will find Olivia Colman's character
Unlikable.
too unlikable to
I agree.
engage with. But I think it's really important that you do, because we so often, it's really important in film that we have really difficult women, and she's a difficult, complex woman. And obviously, because I'm fascinated in what makes people tick, you know, I was like psycho-babbling my way through the whole film. She had postnatal depression. That's never spoken about.
No.
But she clearly had had postnatal depression. And you knew, if you know anything about psychology, you would work out that she had had a very difficult relationship with her mother herself. And she found it she loved these girls, but she loved her own life and her
But it's interesting
and her work more. I really think she did. I
was going to say, because it's interesting that you were sort of psychobabble scurrying around
Loved
for sort
it.
of psychological justification. I mean, I saw her as just deeply selfish, and on that point, I thought, and some people are. Some
exactly.
people. And are you not
And
allowed to be? Because for me, that's
yeah,
the biggest
yeah.
taboo that it tackles. I mean, it tackles that taboo of walking away from your children for any amount of time, which this character does. And
it's unapologetic. It's completely unapologetic. I don't think, and maybe this is a terribly sexist thing to say, well, maybe I'll say it a different way. I think the fact that it was directed by a woman gave us something incredibly special.
Yeah.
Because it's okay to show how difficult it is to be a mother,
Exactly.
how horrible some mothers can be, how horrible some women can be, how utterly selfish some women can be, and the meanness that we see in her when she takes that doll. It was just breathtaking.
Well, not just the meanness in that doll, but it's like the first moment. Okay, so the family from Queens that arrives have disrupted her peace. They're horrendous. They might be crude. They might be all these things that you sort of look at and you go, oh, Jesus Christ, they've all arrived. Like the youngsters, the Greek youngsters or Italian youngsters that run into the cinema. That cinema scene was curious, where she goes to watch a film in this sort of makeshift kind of cinema.
Let's stay with the bit on the beach.
But the bit on the beach when they come over and he says, would you mind moving, or can we borrow your bed? But her response was so objectionable.
But actually, nobody came over to her and said, would you mind moving your bed? So what happens is the big family come to the beach, and the mother is sort of bossing people around. You'll go there, and she goes, and you won't mind, you'll move over there, won't you? And she says, I do mind, actually. And she said, well, you're going to move. She said, no, I'm not going to move. And
it was
our
an affront,
response
though. It was an affront.
Was that we don't expect women to talk like that. And yet, why the fuck shouldn't she?
There was actually nothing unreasonable in what she said.
Because these people were unbelievably rude. They destroyed her day. And that line, that response to me, was so much about what that film is about. Because we were like, oh, even your mum. Even your mum.
Even my mum, who's quite willing to say that sort of thing to people.
Was a bit like, oh,
Yeah.
that's a lot. She actually said, no, I don't want to move. This is my spot. I've got my umbrella. And they were a very threatening group of people. She actually gets called a CUNT, doesn't she? And she's just unflinching.
Yeah. I mean, it was such a weird film because so often, because of that group, I felt death was round the corner. I felt death and murder was incredibly close. I mean, I won't give you away the absolute end, but you feel that there's something so malevolent on its way.
So
I also felt, before we cut back to the Jessie Buckley, and it was for a long time I was toying with this idea of the lost daughter. I know there was the lost daughter earlier. Has she lost a daughter? Is she in some kind of delusional place,
I thought that all
constructing
the
a
way through,
life for a dead daughter or
all
something?
the way through the film. I thought when she's talking about Olivia or I think that was her name. Olivia's not there because she lost Olivia, but I think we're just supposed to be like, she's the lost daughter as much as her daughters are the lost daughter and the lost daughter of the younger woman.
So it's generational, and I'd have thought you always say this thing about our parents, which is our parents can only, and we as parents can only try to do better than our parents before us. And in a sense, that's what this film is about. There's a real swipey kind of argument between Jessie Buckley and her partner, the father of her children, when she's younger, where she says, what did she say? You took them back to
he said, if you're going to leave me, I'm going to drop the kids off at your mother's. And it's the only line we get about her childhood. And she said, you would take them to that dark shit that I was in. And he says, yeah. And she walks out. She leaves them. And it's just delicious.
I mean, I still don't know how I feel about it. It's so weird. I still don't know how I feel about what she does. Because
what she does is horrible to those children. What she does is a bad parent. But we see all the time bad parenting from fathers. Why are women not allowed to be bad? We wouldn't have felt as strongly if it had been him that had walked out. That's the point, and that was the challenge for us, wasn't it, watching it?
I thought it was a film of countless beautiful moments. I tried to describe what I thought it was doing when we were watching it, and it was as if the director, Gyllenhaal, they'd obviously clearly worked out all these scenes that they were going to play, but she, as you rightly say, that none of the actors in this are acting it. They are these people. And it felt like she let the cameras roll. So all of those scenes when Jessie was younger, you felt they very much understood where this needed to go, what the point, it was obviously scripted and what have you. But it was dealt with and directed in such an informal, uncontrolled manner that you just bought the realism of it, and yet at the same time it was realistic and it was poetic at the same time, and that's always helped by the kind of drifting backwards and forwards in time. That's naturally poetic. It gives the film a sort of rhythm. But what I really liked about it, and I'm curious to know what you think, is it really, the ripening fruit, and I hate to use this analogy, but as we all get older, men and women, we become ripening fruit, don't we? I was really rotting fruit, but I thought this film was a film that didn't blanch at trying to show how a very sexualized woman becomes a much older woman who we make our own assumptions on. That's where I think the casting of Olivia Colman was so brilliant. She's beautiful and she's lovely, but she's not necessarily sexy. And she was a sexy young woman. And now that scene with Paul Mescal, where she's talking to him about her children's boobs.
I love that transition that we kept seeing the sexy young woman. And what about that amazing scene where she's masturbating in front of the computer with the kids next door playing?
As the younger Jessie Buckley.
And we're supposed to go, oh my God, that's so disgusting. That woman's been masturbating with her children.
An astonishing moment.
It's not. It's not. She was a very sexual being, and it was interesting because I actually found the scene very uncomfortable with Paul Mescal.
So did I, but I think we were supposed to.
We were supposed to feel it because when it began, you thought she was going to be predatory with him.
Yeah.
But actually, she really wasn't. She really wasn't the least bit interested in him, but she knew she could have him kind of feeling. It was
weird.
There
was that, but at the same time, what I liked about it was, even though she was a harsh, unsympathetic at times, sort of spiky character that held you at arm's length, which is really clever as a film. Your key character is holding you at arm's length, and yet you're still caring. You're being forced to care. Even in that scene, she's in her own way working out this terrible loss, working out still this sense of having made the right or wrong decision with her daughter. I mean, that's what's going on with the doll.
And something some people might have not noticed this or seen this as a redeeming feature, but I really did. In the scene with Paul, when she's talking about her daughters, and she knows them so well. When she talks about the anger that they have to her because she hasn't given them this or she hasn't given them, and I thought, that's a good mother. She is under the skin of her children. She wants to understand them better, and she can only love them in her way and as much as she does. And that doesn't make her love. You could have a mother that to the outside world looks like she does everything, but that's there darning the socks and doing it all. But would they know their children in the way that she does? And so I love that in the end, I'm left with the feeling, and also the reality that all your children leave you.
Well, absolutely.
They're not interested in her. She tries to tell them about the view she's and that's not because she left them for 3 years. That's because that's what happens with children. And and you may live to regret putting every moment of yourself into your child because they need to fly, and then who are you?
But maybe also there's an argument that sometimes for certain people, and maybe this is the case for Leda's situation in the film, to step away and step back might be needed. And you very much felt it was needed. She was losing her head, she was losing her mind, she couldn't cope with them, she was pushing them away. The physicality between Jessie Buckley and those children was astonishing.
And the child
persistence.
Kiss my finger.
Yeah, and she just can't. You're like, oh my God. And yet we can all have memories of being brushed off in that way by parents, you know?
It's okay to sometimes feel actual rage, repulsion to your child. You can do that with anybody you love. But there's so many taboos about the way that we're supposed to feel for our children, and it's supposed to be constant rosy glow love. And I think, oh my God, for any parent or any human, just to watch this relationship in the intensity that Maggie Gyllenhaal shows us it is just
absolutely
just a pleasure.
A shout out has to go to Dakota Johnson, who played the mother of the daughter that gets lost at the beginning, and there's a very
She's really good.
She doesn't say much, but she's so
good,
captivating. You can't work out I couldn't work out whether she or one of the other women in the group of Americans knew everything that was going on in Olivia Colman's character. They were looking through her.
I think we're supposed to feel that they spotted themselves in each other, which is what women can do in seconds. Sometimes you can compute and go, I know that you're quite a lot like me. There's a lot of silent battles that you watch.
Very true. I think shout out also to Ed Harris, who plays the guy who sort of lets her into the house. And
fantastic.
He looks after sort of letting her in, and he's lived in Greece, and there was something, again, wasn't acting. He's run that house, he's been on that island for all these years. And then Peter Sarsgaard, who plays the really creepy, I found creepy, you found creepy, academic that she falls in love with.
Maybe physically sick. He's Maggie Gyllenhaal's husband.
Isn't that bizarre?
But he played it so well.
He played it so well, sort of that sort of control of academia. You know, there has to be a whole hashtag Me Too about academia.
When they're just so he could just have eaten himself.
Exactly. Well, okay, let's sum up. And I know you hate giving scores, but I'm going to give a score. How would you summarise this film?
I wouldn't say to everyone to go and see it. I don't think it's going to be everyone's cup of tea at all, because it is, you have to be, I know exactly what some people say, it was very slow. I didn't find it slow at all, and I found it very deep, a very deep film. Yeah. I thought it was a really important film in that we just don't discuss enough bad women.
Yeah.
Was she a bad woman?
Yeah.
Or was she just a woman? She was just a 360-degree woman.
Very good.
And so I think, But I'm just running through the people I know and who I would say, you've got to go and see The Lost Daughter. Yeah. There probably isn't a lot of them.
Oh, right, okay.
Interestingly.
Yeah.
Jessie Buckley.
A bit of a discovery for you, because it's one of
I
the major roles.
want to see her in the theatre.
Yeah.
I want to see her
She's in Cabaret at the moment, if you fancy
She is just absolutely, she will blow your mind, her performance.
She's not going to give a score. So I thought this was a remarkable film. I thought it was a very difficult watch. As a man, it was a difficult watch because I was being challenged in all these presumptions and culturally received ideas of what women should be. I found her antagonistic. I found her awkward. I found her deeply sympathetic when she, there would be moments for certainly Olivia Colman and Jessie Buckley where they would swell with emotion, and I was close to tears because I was taken with them. It was just like, I couldn't quite put my finger on it. As you rightly say, I like the fact that this was, is she a bad or not bad woman? We don't know. This is just a woman who's made these choices. Yeah. I thought the way it was shot, I love the way it was shot, and I was interested to find out that Helen Luvart's shot Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always. That astonishing film about the girl who got pregnant and wants the abortion.
There's a real
and there's a real grainy
agitation.
The camera.
Yeah. There's a real similarity.
And so that big close-up, so you're in them, and I love those big close-ups. I thought it was like a painting sometimes, but not like in scope. It was like a still life of all these people.
But I wonder, and this is a question I'd like to ask, for me, the suffocation that we felt, when a child is just constantly pulling on you and round your neck and they're in your boobs. I mean, both our girls had their hand down my bra probably for about 2 years. That feeling of not being able to breathe. You eat and they're right up in your face and they're trying to get your food, and then you want to go for a swim but they're hanging around your neck. All of that was just so familiar to me. what did those moments feel like for you? Because
Well, I thought it did a really good job of being able to make me, and this is where I think film is so brilliant, it made me share in that frustration. I was like, what the hell would I do in that situation? I felt the suffocation, but equally, I thought what was so clever about it, the suffocation in Jessie Buckley's part of the film was obvious. The suffocation and stiflingness of Olivia Colman's was all in her inability to relax in this situation or feel easy in her head or not have this bloody doll that had I mean, we haven't talked about the doll took on this grisly sort of significance.
So postnatal.
So
postnatal. I mean, so many people go undiagnosed and just disappear. It's with you. That's
so I found it
on the
stopped
question on whether she was bad,
Yeah.
because I don't think she was. I think she was just 360 degree wrong. What she was, which we rarely see in that way unless we're in some sort of, I don't know, action movie. She was incredibly bold and brave. Her character was so fucking brave.
Yeah.
She did what
Determined.
she wanted. And the fact that she came back after leaving them for 3 years, how brave that would have been.
Absolutely.
Because she loved it. So
Yeah,
I would
absolutely.
say at the end of the day, I think she was a damn fine mother.
Oh, there you go, guys. And if you want to know, I'd probably give it 95 out of 100. That would be my score. I'd say I'd fully recommend going to see it. I hate to say that a film appeals more to women or men, but I think this is an important story about
You have to be a very
women.
open man to watch it.
Yeah, I think so.
Because otherwise you might just think, what?
But I love your phrase. This is a 360-degree portrait of a woman.
Exactly.
And I think that's really nice.
For more film and family fun, don't forget to click the subscribe button and make sure to click the bell to never miss an update.